Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. We've got a Thursday slate of NBA basketball, 7 games on the slate here. We are going to be looking at best bets in this video. We've also got a play of props vid up as we do each and every weekday. So make sure to like and subscribe to that page and continue to follow along with us. Also want you to head to thelines.com. Check out everything that we're putting up on the site right now and use that odds finder tool to make sure that you're getting the best juice available to you from all of these books giving us bets this NBA season. 500 on the night last night, Nate, and we move into a slightly more favorable, if I can call it that, slate. So let's get into your first bet here for Thursday.
Yeah, I'm going to do a little same game parlay here with the Nuggets coming back home with the Nets on a back-to-back, coming off a nice win in Phoenix. Joker was ejected 2 nights ago, as we know. Jamal Murray sat out the second half of the back-to-back, and I expect both of them to have success here. So I will go Joker 20 and 10 at least, and Jamal to get 20 points with the money line gets you plus 150. I mean, the Jamal is the only thing that scares me here. I think Joker is a walking 20-10, as we know, and might be a little motivated after that weird ejection that, you know, he was mature about it, but, you know, certainly going to bottle up some motivation in one way or another to come out and play well. I mean, either way, it's a little bit of extra rest for him, and it's a good matchup against the Brooklyn team that last night gave up 15 and 22 to Jusuf Nurkic. So you got to like that in terms of dominating down low. The Nets also won in Denver last March. Nice, exciting game, 122-120. Joker had 35, 20, and 11 in that game, now averaging 28, 16, and 10. His last 3 against Brooklyn. The Nets have lost 3 of their last 4 road games against the West since. They did get that win last night, but their last 6 roadies overall, Josh, 125 defensive rating. So they can be had when they're out there on the road, and 2 and 4 straight up. Jamal, yeah, I said that scares you, but I mean, his usage rate has been so high. I mean, I'm only scared because he might only play 30 minutes or less. They're still kind of treading lightly with him. They don't want to overwork him as he's dealing with this nagging hamstring and ankle issue. But 29 points in 29 minutes in a favorable matchup on Monday. He's now on 2 days rest, where last season when he was on 2 days, he averaged 22 and a half a game versus 19 on normal rest, had a 27% usage with that extra rest. And, you know, this usage is up to 29% in his 3 games since injury, averaging 24 a game. Brooklyn has been gotten by point guards 28 a game and 4 threes to point guards in their last 7. Joker, more rebounds at home, especially. Jamal, a few more points at home. So I will take their stats here. And, of course, we expect Denver to win at home with the rest advantage.
We do. Yeah, we do. And I would call the game against the Nets last year just sort of the equivalent of the Rockets game this year at Denver, where the Rockets just won a week or 2 ago in a situation at Denver where you just never expect Denver to lose. So it was quite a surprise, and I would expect a bit of revenge. I'll just go right into my bet. I still think it's positively correlated. There's no reason that both of our bets can't hit. In fact, I think they both should. But I've got Joker in a parlay to go under 29 points with the Denver money line in this one. A little bit of that negative correlation gets us plus 145 on our money for a straight bet to his under on the core points, and then also a money line that, if not parlayed, is like minus 400. So getting all of that together to plus 140 feels really good. And obviously it takes a bit of nerve to bet on Jokic to go under anything. But I do think once you put him in the lineup with Murray and with Aaron Gordon, then things are just a lot different. And the stats say that as well, that his usage rate is going to drop about 31. It's about 30% now in the last 5 games, which is still very high. But it's also not at the 34 or 35% that he was averaging in the games that Aaron Gordon and Jamal Murray were both missing for a few weeks. In any game that Jamal Murray plays in, his assists go up and his points go down because he is looking to pass a bit more and get his guys involved. And that's been the case, definitely, like I said, for the last 6 games, is they're still trying to get things back together. And that would seem to be the case for him, as he's kept his usage rate down and kept his potential assists up as he's passing the ball way more. And so, yeah, I like the rebounds and assists for Joker in this situation, which I know you'll talk about a bit more in player props. I think it's when he's going up against a guy like Nick Claxton and whomever else we're going to see on the floor to try to defend him in a myriad of ways for the Nets. Like I don't think that they're going to be able to move him off his position, but I also just don't think that he cares about scoring quite as much right now. The only thing that would scare me is the sort of, I guess, revenge narrative, or just his own personal revenge of coming back from getting tossed in that last game where he only had 4 points in the 16 minutes. And maybe he wants to up that a bit, but he's also got Aaron Gordon back. And in those games, we're down to a 25% usage rate. Against Brooklyn, he's also been in had a 25% usage rate. Again, the thing that scares you is I do think he can essentially score at will, but I like a blowout in this one, and I like him to be focused on scoring passing early and often, to the point where he might not have time to get his, because I don't think he'll be playing for a lot of the fourth quarter by that point. I'm very unimpressed with the Nets right now. You talked about a lot of stuff with them. But really, mostly for me, it's the inability to defend down low, and also slightly the inability to defend on the wing. And I think that's where Jamal and Aaron Gordon will be driving. Jamal will be coming in shooting, but then Aaron Gordon's going to have a lot of lanes to keep moving and cut off of Jokic when he gets a lot of attention, because there's nobody that's even close. Like, what does Nick Claxton weigh? Like 210, like 205. He's given up a solid 45 pounds or whatever, maybe more, to Jokic. So let's go ahead and take Jokic to go under 29, and for him to just control the game with passing, and then for them to win in the parlay there.
Yeah, I mean, he's not your typical superstar that you'd say, oh, he's pissed, he's going to come out and get 30 for sure. Like, yeah, he can dominate the game in other ways. We did talk about this before the Bulls game, that actually when he plays the Eastern Conference, he scores a little bit less, and his assists are down a little bit too, but you can tell that he's just kind of swaying their defense because they're not as used to playing him, get guys in rotation and just impact the game in that way. So I like his rebounds and assists more so than him to score a ton here. I do think he still gets 20. I think the only place we differ is that you're expecting a blowout. I don't see anything from the Nets to indicate that they're in blowout territory when they're on a back-to-back. Like, I mean, with Mikal Bridges being the leader of your team and Mr. 82, like there hasn't been much let up in terms of their numbers when they're on back-to-backs here. So I think they'll find a way to compete, which, helps for those other stats, but still doesn't necessarily mean that the Joker is going to have to score. I mean, Denver, their role players are just so elevated when they're home. So True. Yeah, that's fine by me. All right, Josh, let's look at some narratives here. Not as much about the stats, but it's the Warriors +6 at the Clippers. Maybe it'll get a little higher because, I mean, this Warriors team has been bad. It has been very bad, especially on the road where they're 1-6, but they have covered in 5 of their last 7 roadies.
Yeah.
Draymond, as we know, is suspended indefinitely, maybe for the entire season. Like, we just don't know what the situation is, but maybe that provides some clarity for these Warriors to say, all right, we're now a team without Draymond Green. His sideshow antics are a bit, swept under the rug. Nobody believes in us now. Every story is about this is the end of our dynasty. We have no shot. And you like to back teams in that situation where it's at least the first game coming out of that, especially against a rival, a Clippers team they're playing their 3rd game in 4 nights. And Paul George is questionable. Paul and Kawhi have yet to miss a game all season, which is really strange. But as I keep mentioning, they played on the back-to-back. But if one of those guys is out, we'll see what happens if you thrust Harden and Westbrook on the floor together. That was an absolute disaster when they started to do that when they got Harden, right? I mean, LAC, their defense has been great lately. I don't know how much of that is who they're playing. Teams that can't hit threes did give up 17 threes to Golden State and 19 to Portland in that weird blip to start this back-to-back stretch. They are, they're 6-3 at home with Harden, but 3-6 against the spread. Most of those games going under. Definitely harder to cover a 6-point spread if you're going under, playing slow. And where are they weakest? I mean, it's at the point guard position, giving up 31 to point guards, over 4 threes. Those are both among the worst in the league over the last 7. I mean, because they played Steph in 2 of those, but Steph is now coming to town. I feel like the back door is just always open when you have Steph Curry. It's like you might be down. He's just going to hit a couple threes late, and you're going to lose by less than 6. His last 7 road games without Draymond, they're getting used to it now, right? He's been out almost half the season with these suspensions and injuries. Steph averaging 29 a game. He's actually shooting better from 3. they've covered in the first two without him on the road against Sac and Denver. They did not against Phoenix. Phoenix, by the way, is the only road games they have not covered in this 7-game span. So, I mean, LAC, you have to hit unassisted threes against them, right? Their team defense is so sound that you kind of have to be a bit of a game breaker like Steph to get off your threes, and he has recently. So I think there is a bit of a correlation here to add the spread with Steph to get 25 points, 4 threes. Like there's almost no way the Warriors are in this game, if not for a typically great performance from him. And yeah, I mean the last thing is just that the Clippers do not have a particularly high free throw rate, and that seems to be the key in these losses for the Dubs, giving up 8 more free throws in losses than wins. So if you're not getting down there and pounding them, especially with Draymond out in that interior defense weekend, I think they can stay in the game.
I understand what you're saying. And I know that you turn to me often for any kind of thoughts on the Warriors and West Coast teams because you're like, yo, dude, you're up watching these games. Can you help me out? And I can't. I'm sorry. There's a lot of conflicting information. Now, I'll take the +6, like you said. I'll take the cover machines. And it's so funny because the Dubs are cover machines either for themselves at the end of games or they're liable to get backdoored because they'll just do some dumb stuff at the end and turn it over the way that they've lost to the Kings this season and a couple other games. Because a lot of, like you said, they've been covering on the road and they've been covering in their last bunch of games. They just keep losing by like a less than a handful of points all of the time. And it's got to be frustrating because it does seem like that their record could be like, I don't know, 6 games better in the other direction rather than like 4 or 5 games under 500. But the bottom line is like they don't have the wiggle room anymore to actually win this game outright that they used to have, where they can turn the ball over and they can make messy plays at the end and not be as worried about it because someone will bail them out. Someone being Steph Curry or Klay Thompson. I just don't know what to do with that in this one. And the other conflicting pieces, yes, they've with James Harden on the floor, even if he's not always at the head of the defense because they're trying to hide him on the baseline in a sort of semi zone, like. They're still giving up a ton of points to point guards because guys like Russ and James Harden aren't exactly like going all out on their particular positions. And even Russ, as hard as he's playing, his one-on-one defense isn't really what he's known for at this point. It's like coming off of guys and stealing and making blocks and getting into passing lanes. And it's just a big reason for why these point guards have scored so much. So you'd think Steph would do it. There's some conflicting info about if he's going to be able to do it without Draymond or not. In the last bunch of games, he's been all right without Draymond. This season specifically, he has not been as good without Draymond as he is with him. It's just a little bit of a give and take there that makes me go, I'm a little 50-50 on it. So I let Nate take that bet. Let me finish it out here with an under that I hit last night at 231.5 and is down to 226.5. I still kind of like it. And I would even consider a tease to get it back to the 230.5 with Portland to basically win this game in a pick'em because they're -3.5 right now. And I do like Portland to win this one. I really do. I don't know who's going to be playing for Utah. So just getting into some of it real quick, Utah's on the second night of a back-to-back. Last night, Lauri Markkanen was on a minutes restriction of max 25. Walker Kessler was questionable up until the game and then played. He's been nursing injuries, so who knows if he'll play tonight. John Collins was ruled out last night. He might not play tonight. Jordan Clarkson is out for a couple more weeks with an injury. I don't know who's going to score the ball for Utah. Maybe Keontae George, I guess, with some Kelly Olynyk sprinkled in.
No, he's out too. He's out too. It's Sexton time.
Sorry, Collins Sexton time. And guess who has the best on-off defensive rating for the Jazz right now without having nearly as many minutes as others? Like, Colin Sexton's defense is what he's known for, and it's certainly not his shooting. So, like, that definitely helps the under case a ton. Man, I can't believe how many dudes they're missing. In the 4 that they've played on a back-to-back, they average 103 points. They've had Markkanen in 3 of those, by the way. It's not like he just sits on the back-to-backs. They have that 105 rating, playing at a 98 pace, which was also skewed by an 105 pace. They played at Orlando when Orlando was like, all right, let's do this. Y'all are on a back-to-back. We're going to just run you right out of this gym, which they're playing way faster at home right now, which is crazy. But like I said, super injured. I really want to know if Kessler's playing. I kind of want him to play to keep the defense like somewhat honest for this Utah team. But no matter what, I just don't think they're going to be able to score, man. That road offense, we keep attacking it. 105 points per game on the road versus the 118. Like the 105 looks awful, but it just looks so much worse when you consider that they're capable of scoring 118. They just need to play, I guess, wherever. Is it above sea level? I think it's above sea level. So that's a big problem for Utah there. Portland at home. big problem on offense. 103 points per game. They've missed Malcolm Brogdon in a lot of those games, which is huge for them to win because he was questionable coming into this morning as well. Missed their last game earlier this week as well. So against the Clippers, which was a very high scoring affair. I just in this one, it's going to be a lot of 3-point defense for Portland, and without their big guys down low, Utah is not going to be able to score. Like they score off of second chance points, they score by attacking the rim, and then occasionally getting some shots from Jordan Clarkson. And when Lowry's been in there, they try to go through him. But it's just with the way that Portland's able to defend the three, I'm not really sure what these backups who are coming in who rely on 3-pointers are really going to be doing. There's nobody that you trust driving to the rim. Although Agbaji's been a little bit better, and he'll definitely be a high usage player in this one. I love him. I love saying the name Agbaji. I can't really put it on him to like take over this game against this Portland defense. So let's see what happens. Malcolm Brogdon plays. They are 3 points better per game. Are the Blazers? They go from scoring 104 a game to 107. So like that's better, but I still don't think it's enough to get them over 226.5 in this one.
Yeah, just to address your geography first. I mean, every arena is above sea level except maybe New Orleans in the U.S. But yeah, Salt Lake City's at 4,200 feet, which is 1,000 lower than Denver, which is still a bit of an impact from climate, and maybe that is why Utah is a little bit better at home, getting people tired as they visit. But that's a digression here.
I mean, I know you digress, but I just want to say this proves that Nate paid attention in earth science and I did not. So please continue.
Yeah, it really depends on who's going to play here. If Brogdon does not play, Portland is not an NBA offense. Even if he does play, though, I still think they're a slower team because he's out there. We'll see what happens if Aiden comes back. He has a chance to return again. Kind of makes them slower and less fluky where we saw them drop all those points at LAC. Other than that, like Portland's games have been around 210 at the most. So I feel really good about an under where they're at home and able to dictate the pace, especially if you don't have Markkanen or Clarkson. I would look at Sexton props if it's like 17 points or something, because him and THT, I guess, are the only guys who are going to be able to get their own shot.
Yep. Cool. That is all the time we have for you. I just realized that's my final bet. So let's move on here. I appreciate you guys, everybody watching. Definitely continue to follow along. We also have our play of props up for you as well on top of these best bets. So until we see you next, happy betting.